let's discuss quantity limits. Quantity limits are exactly what they sound. They are a limit on the quantity of a medication that you can actually get. They have some that we call quantity versus time. And in a quantity versus time context, it may say you can only get 8 per 30 days. So you may get 2 tablets on the 1st, you may go back and get another 6 tablets on the 7th, but you won't be able to get any more past that 8 on the 7th if you have a quantity versus time edit in place, all right? The other ones are just daily dose edits. So they're basically saying we'll only allow you to get 1 per day. And what that may look like in your list of drugs is you can only get 30 per 30 days. So as long as you're only getting 1 tablet for 1 day across a 30, 60, 90-day supply, that's fine. As long as your daily dose does not go over the 1 per day, okay? So you have quantity versus time. You can have so much in a period of time, or you can have a daily dose. You can have just 1 per day, 2 per day. Again, when these edits are put into place, these are not just randomly selected. It usually comes from the package insert, which is the information that tells you everything clinically about the drug. So the manufacturer has gone through the trials and said that this drug should only be taken once a day. You can achieve therapeutic benefit by taking it once a day. Or the max that you should take this drug is 3 times per day. Whenever it comes to the opioids that have Tylenol in it or acetaminophen, those have your limits based on how much acetaminophen that you can actually take per day based on those guidelines. So none of this is just come up with off the cuff. All insurance companies should be looking at clinical criteria first to decide how much they're actually going to limit you. So when it comes to quantity limits, there's a couple of reasons why the insurance company may put a quantity limit restriction. It could be if medication's very costly, and so they want to make sure that the dosing guidelines are within what the clinical criteria says. So it may be a very expensive medication. Clinically, you're only supposed to take it 2 times per day. So they want to make sure that the dosing is in line with the 2 times per day to avoid, maybe it was a mistake. The pharmacy may have put in a wrong quantity for a different day supply or wrong day supply. Or maybe the physician sent it in with a set of directions that were not in line with the clinical criteria. So it's just a way to catch any misprescribing or unintended for high-cost medications within that clinical guidelines. The other one, it could be to prevent abuse. So that's what you get around your opioid prescriptions, limiting how much of the controlled substances and narcotics you have to help try and circumvent some of the abuse issues. The other pieces, of course, around fraud, we're always looking at that in any kind of market. Then another reason why you may have quantity limits is what we call dose optimization. And so what that is, say a particular drug is supposed to be given once a day. So let's go over an example. Let's say the doctor wrote you a prescription for atorvastatin. He wants to start you on that for your cholesterol. And it comes in a 5 milligram, a 10, a 20, a 40, and an 80. And you say the doctor's supposed to put you on the 10, but for whatever reason, you don't want to swallow the 10 milligram tablet. Say it's too big. It's not a huge tablet, but let's just, for this scenario, say that it's huge. So you say, well, doc, can you give me instead 2 of the 5 milligram tablets? So he sends a prescription into the pharmacy that says 5 milligrams, take 2 daily. The guidelines said atorvastatin is a once daily drug. So the quantity limit may be 1 per day or 30 per 30, this daily dose limit. But you're trying to get 2 per day. Okay, so that's outside of clinical guidelines. So it's going to reject possibly if this drug has a quantity limit on it with your insurance company, saying, hey, you need to take 10 milligrams or you need to find it to where you just take 1 per day. That's dose optimization, because if you take 2 times the 5, there is a 10 milligram strength available. So they're basically saying, pharmacy, change this to the 10 milligram if you can, or call the physician's office and say you're going to have to use the 10 milligram and actually give them 1 tablet daily. Now, this does not necessarily work in the reverse. So say the doctor wrote for you you're supposed to be on the 10 milligram, and he writes for the 20 milligram tablet, and he tells you to take half daily. So now you only get 15 tablets, and that's a 30-day supply. You will not have any issues with this. You can go and you can get the 15 for the 30-day supply because the clinical criteria says it's a once daily drug. So as long as you're taking or less than one a day, then you're fine. So the underutilization is not technically underutilization because you're still taking 10 milligrams once a day. But just to know from a quantity limit perspective, the 15 per 30 is not going to flag because it is less than the 30 per 30 that you are allowed. Okay, so when it comes to quantity limits, once you get to the pharmacy counter, if they tell you that the insurance company is not paying for that particular quantity, ask the pharmacy, did the insurance company tell you in the reject message how many they actually will cover? So in this example with the atorvastatin, we know they're only going to cover 1 tablet per day, and it's got 2 tablets per day. Well, the pharmacy can't really go in and only give you 15 tablets or 30 tablets because the system's going to make that 30 tablets now a 15-day supply, which is still 2 daily. So you kind of trapped in that circle without being able to have the pharmacy just give you less tablets because the day supply is still going to show that you're doing it for 2 a day versus 1 a day. So the best thing is see if they can just change it to the higher dose if it's available. If not, you're going to have to call your physician's office and have them call you in a new prescription that has a 10 milligram. Let's say if it was a legitimate reason why you actually do need to take a medication more than what the insurance allows, then you're just going to call the insurance company and you're going to find out what the steps are to have your physician call and give a clinical explanation as to why you need more than what the quantity limit for the actual plan provides. So hopefully this has been helpful on the quantity limits so that you can know that when you get to the pharmacy counter, if there is a restriction on how many you need, now you know how to navigate that. The pharmacy may very well send something over to the physician's office. They may even call and try and get the prescription changed. Those are all great, but you also want to make sure that you're following up with your insurance company and with the physician's office to make sure that you can get your needed prescription drugs. Another thing is if you're, say for this quantity versus time, if the doctor wrote you a prescription and the prescription was written for 12 and that 12 was supposed to last you for 30 days and it's a new prescription and you get to the pharmacy counter, and usually this is around like headache medicine, so say you get to the pharmacy counter and they're like, oh, the insurance company won't pay for the full 12. They're only allowing you to get 8 for a 30-day supply. What you can do so that you have medicine in hand is tell the pharmacy to just bill for the 8 for the 30-day supply. You take that 8 and go home, and then you have some medicine on hand. And if you happen to know that you're going to need the other 4, you can go ahead and have the physician's office start that quantity limit exceptions process so that you can go back later and get the other 4. But at least with a quantity versus time edit, you can walk out with something in your hand while they work on getting you the rest. So hopefully this was very helpful as we went over quantity limits, whether it's quantity versus time, saying you can only get so many in a certain time span, or a daily dose where you can only get so many per day no matter what that day span looked like. So hopefully you feel more educated, and when you go to the pharmacy counter, you'll be able to help educate them and yourself about how to get your needed prescription drugs.